YouTube just sent out an email about US withholding tax and the whole world's panicking. So I thought I'd put out this video because you can always count on me. It's up to the channel for that cool name. In any case, I wanted to basically quickly go over some of the points here because this may affect you and this may not affect you. So here we go. So I'm actually gonna read out the top part of this email because the way YouTube has crafted this is just genius. I'm being sarcastic. We're reaching out because Google will be required to deduct US taxes from payments to creators outside of the US later this year, as early as June 2021. Over the next few weeks, we'll be asking you to submit your tax info in AdSense to determine the correct amount of taxes to deduct, if any apply. If your tax info isn't provided by May 31st, 2021, Google may be required to deduct up to 24% of your total earnings worldwide. Yeah. Okay, so let's quickly break this down to see how this may impact you. Now, according to Chapter 3 of the US Internal Revenue Code, Section 3406 and 1441, Google is required to collect tax info from all monetizing creators outside of the US. So the reason why people are worried is because if Google's already going to collect, like, withhold tax, then technically we could be double taxed because Google's withholding tax for US, and then once we earn our income, then we would have to get taxed on it in our country of origin. So that's what people are all really concerned about, is double taxation. Now, the tax information that YouTube is going to collect and how that will impact you will depend on a couple different things. Firstly, the country of origin, so where you're from, if that country has a tax treaty with the United States, and if you're an individual or a business. But whatever happens, when YouTube does send out that follow-up email asking you to enter your tax information before May 31st, make sure you do it, because otherwise YouTube is saying that they're going to charge anywhere from 24 to 30% depending on whether you're an individual or a business residing within the United States or outside. So in order to avoid being taxed that max rate, you might want to do it right away just so you don't have to deal with that hassle later on. Okay, so what exactly is withholding tax? Simply put, there are taxes that are already deducted by the payer and paid to the government before the earnings reach the payee, i.e. me and you. And in most cases, a foreign national is subject to federal withholding tax on US source income at a standard rate of 30%. However, there could be a reduced rate or even an exemption based on the tax treaties between the foreign national's country and the United States. Okay, so what's a tax treaty? A tax treaty is basically a bilateral agreement between two different countries with the intention of avoiding double taxation. Okay, now I wanted to go through some of the common questions that I've heard and concerns that people have had. So the first thing is, will this affect all of my YouTube earnings? Well, technically no. Only the portion of earnings from viewers that are based in the US will be subject to this tax. So let's go through a quick example here. Let's say you make $2,000 USD in AdSense, of which about 50% is from the US and the other 50% is kind of just scattered throughout the world, Canada, India, UK, wherever it may be. So the first check that Google is going to do is to see if the user has actually submitted their tax information. And that's why this is so key that we do this ASAP, because if not, then they're going to charge the full 24% on your entire YouTube income, not just the US based income, but the entire amount. So for the $2,000, you're going to be charged $480 in withholding tax. That's a lot of money that we're leaving on the table. So we want to avoid that at all costs. So the second thing that Google is going to check is if there's a treaty with the United States and the country of origin. So for example, for us in Canada, we have a treaty with the United States to avoid double taxation. As such, we would be required to file the W8 Ben brackets E, depending on if you're a business or not, form, thus exempting us from the US withholding tax, which means that Google is not going to withhold any tax from us, and then we're going to get paid the full AdSense amount, and then we would have to, report that income on our Canadian taxes and then pay taxes on our end in Canada. But let's say you're from another country, for example, India. They also do have a tax treaty with the United States. However, they're not they don't get tax exemption. They do have a reduced tax rate of 15%. So in that case, let's say out of the $2,000, the $1,000 was from US, then out of that $1,000, 15% will be withheld. So about $150 will be withheld by YouTube, and the rest will be sent to you guys. So it's important to note here that if you are a country with a tax treaty with the United States, or you have a tax treaty but still have to pay a tax rate such as the India example that we just mentioned, this will only still affect your income that is is attributed to the US viewers. So if majority of your audience, for example, is from India, then you don't have to worry about anything because you won't get taxed on that particular viewership-based income. Now, as for the creators that are based out of the United States, technically you shouldn't really see any further changes or deductions because Google would already have been charging withholding tax based on the tax information that you should have already provided Google. And if you haven't, you should totally do that ASAP, because otherwise you're going to be in that same boat that we talked about earlier, where you may be charged the 24% rate on your entire YouTube earnings. So now, what if you're watching this video a little bit late and you haven't submitted your tax information to YouTube on a timely manner? Can you get back the withholding tax if you've paid extra? So let's say your rate is technically 15%, but you've been charged 24% on your entire income. Then Google says that you may get a refund in certain circumstances if your info is updated by December 31st, 2021. So they are willing to recalculate and refund the difference if it's done before the end of this year. However, this process is a little more tedious and complicated. You have to get like an affidavit and stuff like that. So I highly recommend that you just avoid all of that and don't get into that, and just make sure that before May 31st or whatever date that YouTube sends you that email to get your tax information, you do it right away. In any case, I hope this video was beneficial to you guys. I wanted to make this video short and, you know, get to the crux of the issue right away, and hopefully I answered some of your questions. Hopefully this doesn't impact you as much, and make sure you get your information in before the deadline. In any case, if you're interested in more content about finance for creators and in general financial lessons and, you know, tips and tricks that we can use in our daily life, then please go ahead and sub to this channel. If you found this video beneficial, then go ahead and share it with your other colleagues who may be creating content as well, so they're not left concerned and you can help them out as well. In any case, I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you for watching. Stay blessed. Take care. Peace. Also, I forgot to mention that I left a couple links down below in the description, which will give you a little bit more information on this whole withholding tax, as well as the treaty table. So if you want to look up your country and what treaty and percentage and stuff like that that you may need to pay, so you can pre-calculate and, you know, kind of calculate for yourself how much Google will be withholding, go check those links down below. Hopefully they're helpful. All right, take care.